Do you feel you can express yourself fantastically in person with someone? If it's just you and me sitting in a room, you can articulate all of your ideas, all of your beliefs, all of your visions and dreams. But as soon as it comes to formal speaking, whether you're standing in front of a camera just now, or whether you're addressing a live audience, you lose all of that expressiveness. You lose that ability to be able to articulate yourself and bring your ideas together and deliver with energy and enthusiasm. If that sounds like you, then I've got a solution that will help you with this. That will help you find that focus, find that structure, and still be an expressive, spontaneous, creative person that I know that you are. This is the exact situation that one of my clients, Jen, found herself in. Jen's an archaeologist. She's an explorer. She's an adventurer. She's all about going off the beaten path. She's all about trying new things, looking at things in a different way. And this has certainly affected her when it's come to her formal speaking. That when she tries to get too structured and too rehearsed and too scripted when it comes to speaking, she loses that fluency. She loses that natural creativity and expression that she has. So as we were working together, we were looking to find a solution that would allow her to know what she's going to say, to be able to plan something, to be able to structure it effectively, but not to lose her expressiveness in the process. Perhaps that's a situation you found yourself in as well, where you've had some kind of presentation to do for work, or you've got some kind of talk to deliver to an audience somewhere, and you're so focused on getting it right and saying the right thing that you lose a part of yourself. You lose your personality, you lose your unique style. And as we spent months working together, we were putting little bits in place. And I said, it's about planning enough so that you know you're ready, but not planning so much that you become rigid. And there was one talk that Jen did, and she was telling a story about going on a road trip with her daughter. And it was her best speech that I'd seen her do. And also, the speech itself provided a metaphor. And I was able to finally articulate what I'd been trying to get her to develop and embrace within herself. I said, this is it. I want you to think of your speeches from now on like a road trip. And there and then, we coined the road trip method. Jen gets a 50% stake in the trademark for that. The road trip method. I want you to think of your speeches like a road trip. There's a journey that you and the audience are embarking on together. And this journey could be lots of different things depending on what you speak on. It might be someone who's overweight and unfit, and taking them on a journey to show them how to lose that weight and how to become fitter. It could be someone who wants to start a business and taking them on a journey of how do you get those foundations in play? How do you start finding clients? How do you start making money? There's a journey there as well. It could be someone who's really struggling in their romantic relationship and they're on the brink of divorce, and taking them on a journey that saves their marriage and has them loving their spouse even more than they did before. These journeys could be lots of different things depending on what you speak about. And I want you to think about a road trip that you've been on. And I know that when I think of road trips, I think of the United States. Living here in the UK, we don't really have road trips to the same degree. The island is about 1,000 miles long. There's only so many road trips that you can do amongst the UK. However, in the US, you have these big trans-state road trips. You're going up and down the East Coast or West Coast. You're going from coast to coast. And let's imagine that we've got this hypothetical journey between New York and LA, coast to coast. East to west. That's your journey. You know that you have to go from east to west. If you go north, you're going in the wrong direction. If you go south, you're going in the wrong direction. So you've got that rough guiding start. But apart from that rough guidance start of knowing that you've got to eventually end up in Los Angeles, there's a lot of different ways that you can go, isn't there? You could take a bit more of a northern route and go through places like Chicago, maybe even go up to somewhere like Seattle and come back down. You could go somewhere a little bit south. You can start going through Washington. Maybe you're going down into the southern states. You're going somewhere like Atlanta or New Orleans. And then perhaps you just go as through the middle as you possibly can. You're going to places maybe like Kansas or Oklahoma, Denver, Las Vegas. So can you see that although there's this journey that you've got to take, you know that as long as you get to that destination, there's lots of different routes that you can take. And there's these landmarks along the way that you want to hit. So let's say that you do want to go roughly down the middle. You know, okay, right, from New York, I want to hit Kansas City. I want to hit Oklahoma. I want to hit Denver. I want to hit Las Vegas. As long as your journey from New York takes you to Kansas City, I mean, how many different ways could you do that? How many different places could you visit? How many different things could you see along the way? As long as you get to that key checkpoint of Kansas City. Because you know, in order to get to the next part of my journey, in order to progress to the next stage, Kansas is that first checkpoint. And from then on, I'm going to keep on going further west. I'm going to go to my Denvers. I'm going to go to my Las Vegases. How does all of this apply to speech? Your speech is a journey from one point to the other. Start point to your destination. There's key checkpoints you've got to hit along the way, which are your main points. Let's use the fitness and health example. You've got someone who's overweight and unfit. And you've got to take them on a journey to get to a destination of losing that weight and being fit. Your key checkpoints might be exercise. Here's the type of exercise, here's how frequently you need to do it, here's the technique and the instruction to do it. That's checkpoint 1. Checkpoint 2 is your nutrition. Looking at what you're eating, being aware of how much you're eating, perhaps when you're eating. Being aware of foods that are perhaps snack foods or little gateway foods that make you overindulge. There's checkpoint 2. Checkpoint 3, we're looking at your sleep. If you're not sleeping properly, you're not going to be able to exercise effectively. You're going to fall off your nutrition plan. We're going to look at some of the ways that you can improve your sleep, getting rid of that blue light, lowering the temperature in the room, having a regular sleep schedule and routine. Those are your checkpoints. And you know, if I'm going to take my audience member from where they start off to where their destination is, I need to hit those 3 checkpoints. But I can travel between those 3 checkpoints any way I like. I can focus on different aspects of their exercise depending on where they're at. I can focus on different parts of their nutrition plan depending on what I see in front of me. And we can look at what are some of the areas where their sleep is falling apart. For some people, it'll be different to others. That's the road trip method. It's having a broad vision of what your plan and structure is, but having creativity in between. When I'm planning a talk or a speech, for example, what I'm doing here with you right now, I didn't script this out word for word before I turned on the camera. I had an idea of what were the key points that I was going to hit. I had to hit, have you struggled with your speech? I had to talk about Jenn's experience. I wanted to build on the road trip method. I knew that I needed to tell the real world analogy of the road trip method before I start going into how it works as a speaking metaphor. That's what the road trip method is. You have a broad plan of what you're going to do, but you have the creativity in between. Because you could have a plan from Kansas City to say, okay, I'm going to go to Oklahoma. And you say, actually, no, I don't think I'm going to go to Oklahoma. I think that instead, I'm going to go down to Dallas. Screw it, I'm going to Dallas. And so you take that route. You can be creative and spontaneous in the moment. Something can come to you and say, I'm going to change what I was planning on doing. I'm going to say something different. I'm going to put increased focus on a different portion of my speech. And that's the beauty of the road trip method. And this is what started working for Jenn. She said, David, I now can structure what I want to say, but I'm not restricting myself as I'm doing it. I'm not restricting that ability to be playful and be fun and be wild and go off the beaten track. But I also don't do that so much that I lose my place, lose my coherence, and ultimately I can't take my audience with me on that journey. That's what the road trip method is all about. And it's a method that I advise you to use as well. I don't think speaking can be too scripted and too structured, because it comes out wooden and stiff and awkward, and people can't relate to you when you're too scripted and too rehearsed. But at the same time, I don't recommend just getting up onto stage and winging it either, because you just make a mess, you do your audience a disservice. You've got to find that sweet spot in the middle. The sweet spot in the middle is the road trip method. So what's your next trip going to be? Looking at your next speech, what's the journey that you're going to take your audience on? What are those key points that you're going to hit? And give yourself the freedom and the adaptability to not script out those points too much. To not say this is the exact route I'm taking from New York to LA. Allow yourself to have the adventure. Allow yourself to explore. Allow yourself to find those tangents. To explore new frontiers. Because it's those moments in a speech that are often your most profound. When you find the adventure in the moment, you chase it, you capture it, and you take your audience along for the ride.